including the completion of the border wall. We did 100 miles of wall, and that's one of the reasons we had the lowest number. You remember the famous chart that I looked to my right, bring down the chart, and I looked to my right, something went right by but that chart, I don't know if they have it now, frankly, I didn't tell them to bring it, but they're very competent people, they might. If you have the chart, put it up. If you don't, that's okay too. But that chart showed that we had the lowest number of illegals coming into our country in history. And I love the chart. Even if it didn't show that, I would have loved that chart, because that chart, I wouldn't be here right now without that particular chart. But it was pretty amazing. It was really amazing. And we did a great job. We had the lowest, the week I left office, we had the lowest number of illegal immigrants coming into our country that we ever had. Simultaneously, we must make a record investment in interior enforcement, including deportation flights and aircraft, as well as funding for our new task force to eradicate the presence of foreign gangs. We have some of the worst foreign gangs. It's not even believable. And criminal networks that have brought devastating crime to American soil. We're getting them all out. We're getting them all out. I won on that, you know. It's like some people explain it very well. They say, gee whiz, you know, they look at the people. As you know, in Colombia, they agreed with us almost immediately after I got involved. And Marco Rubio and I worked together. He did a great job. And we really did. And Mike Waltz, we have a great group of people. But we were being scolded because we had them in shackles in an airplane. And he said, this is no way to treat people. Now, you got to understand, these are murderers, drug lords, gang members, just the toughest people you've ever met or seen. How would you like to be the pilot of a plane? You got two pilots up there, and you got 300 people sitting in a plane, every one of them either a murderer, a drug lord, a kingpin of some kind, the head of the mob, or a gang member, and you're flying that plane. It's not going to end well. Do you ever see the movie Con Air? That's what, yeah, except here's the difference. The people in Con Air were actors. They weren't nearly as tough as these guys. I would say that plane would be gone before it ever left. Those pilots would be gone before it ever left. So they don't want us to shackle them. I don't want to be in that plane. I want to thank every Republican House member for voting to pass the Lake and Riley Act, the first enforcement only bill that's been passed in 3 decades. I met the parents of Lakin, and they were incredible people. They were just so devastated. I mean, can't even explain to you. You can't say somebody's life is over, but essentially their life is so different, and it can never be the same. She was beautiful. She was great person. But to have a bill of such importance named after her is a great tribute. But what these parents, and you know, you have so many of them, where they've lost a loved one to crime, but to this new form of crime, criminal, illegal aliens. It's massive. The numbers are massive, and you add that to the crime we already had. This shows the potential for additional enforcement bills that will help us crack down on criminal aliens and totally restore the rule of law in our country. I'm also eager to get to work with Congress on the largest package of tax cuts and reforms in American history. We got to get that done. And we don't want to get hung up on the budget process. We just want, whether it's one bill, 2 bills, I don't care. Let these guys, they're going to work it out. They're going to work it out one way or the other. But the bottom line, the end result is going to be the same. We want to have all of those benefits. And we want to keep people's taxes low and actually make them lower. And that's not just rich people. That's everybody. It's, frankly, proportionately the lower scale, much more so than a higher scale. Not only must we permanently extend the Trump tax cuts, you know, if we don't, you're going to have about a 60% tax increase. But I also intend to keep my promises, starting with no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and no tax on overtime. We're working very hard to get them done, and we are. I went to Nevada just this last couple of days. Started off in North Carolina because I didn't want to forget the people of North Carolina were treated so badly by FEMA. And they came to me, they said, sir, you're going to California tomorrow. I said, well, what about North Carolina? Well, we'll do that another time. And I said, no, we won't. I'm stopping in North Carolina first. And we stopped there. We met great people Franklin Graham has done a fantastic job. He's done a great job, but others also. And I met people that were devastated. The Democrat Party with FEMA, their FEMA did absolutely nothing. And we have that worked out. Your congressmen are helping very much there. Your 3 Congress people are working very hard on that whole thing, along with Michael Whatley. And Laura wants to be involved too. Laura Trump, she's doing great jobs. She's done a great. Michael and Laura have been unbelievable as the head of the RNC. They've been unbelievable. Unbelievable. You know why I picked Michael? I said, who ran North Carolina? Tell me, because in the 2016 election, we did so well, and then in 2020, we did great in North Carolina. But others, we watched, wah, ping, wah, ping. What the hell's going on? But with North Carolina, when he had 600 lawyers, 601 lawyers working for him, and they didn't play games in North Carolina, I said, that's the guy I want to run it. And Michael Whatley has done an unbelievable job, and he worked with Laura so well. She comes from that state, from North Carolina. They've done such an incredible job. So thank you very much. I want to just thank you in front of leadership. Incredible. And I really don't want to give him another job, to be honest. That's the most important job. He said, sir, I'll go anywhere. I said, I don't want you to go anywhere. I want you to stay where you are. We'll give you plenty of money to get the job done, right? But we don't want to lose it. I mean, he's really, he could do anything, actually, but he's a very talented person. There's nothing more important because we have to win in 2 years or we have to win in 4 years. There's nobody better to head it up. So thank you very much, Michael, and really stand up. We're just an incredible job. Really amazing. I wanted to save that for leadership because I say it all the time. People don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but leadership knows what I'm talking about, and it's really incredible. The 2 of you as a team are unbelievable. Our administration will also be working to implement the Make It in America plan that I outlined very successfully in my campaign. You know, I think my campaign, I really focused on the border more than anything else. A lot of people said the biggest thing was inflation and the economy, and then maybe the border was third. I always felt the border was first because I felt that people could really understand that you can't have people pouring in from the prisons all over the world and from mental institutions all over the world and dumped into our country. So I talked about that much more so than I did inflation. I mean, inflation was terrible. It was the worst. I think it was the worst in the history of our country. But you can only talk about it so long. You know, the price of apples doubled, the price of bacon is quadrupled, everything is a disaster. And you say it, and then what do you do? With this, I could give examples of what they're doing to destroy our country, and I felt it was the strongest thing. You know, it's funny, in 2016, I won on the border. In 2020, we did so well, I couldn't talk about the border. My people would say, sir, don't bring up the border. Nobody wants to hear it. I said, no, I did a great job. It was a horrible border in 2016, but that border was beautiful compared to what we have now. So I didn't talk about it, and we did great. I mean, look, I got millions of more votes in 2020 than I got in 2016. Nobody ever got the most votes of any Republican in history in 2020. But this time I said, let's make it too big to rig. We're going to make it too big to rig, and that's what happened, and they couldn't. They tried, these cheating guys, these cheating people, but they tried, but they gave up. I brought taxes down from 40% to 21%, which everybody said was impossible, and I did it with these people up here and a lot of the people there. A great congressman. I want to name every one of them, but I'd be naming them all night. I'm looking at them. Look at all these people. They're great. They're so great, Russell and you, and every single Virginia. Look at Virginia. She's a killer. Nobody would know she's a killer. But I got all these congressmen. I want to name every one of them, but I got like 100 and something things. People would say, let's get the hell out of here. This is getting very boring, right? But I will tell you, as a group and individually, they're incredible people. Every one of them I like, although every once in a while, if somebody votes against me, I don't like them for a little while. But we like every one of them. And this guy has the ability to get along with everybody, which he has to when you have a majority of really 5. You know, they say 1, but it will be. But right now it's 1. I want to make him sound a little bit. But he has an ability to get along with people, and he's very smart, very tough. But everyone likes him because he's a high-quality person, very religious person, and he's a high-quality person. You know, we have other guys here, and I know that everybody likes them, but they're like one of them in particular. I love this guy so much. I won't name him because I don't want to embarrass him, but I don't know if he'd be happy or not happy, but he's very, very strong, very, very popular, but he has 36 people that won't vote for him. It's 36. That's not a lot. That's a small percentage. Tom is incredible, but Tom has a couple of people that probably have been beaten badly and beaten up. You beat up some people badly, and it's a little tougher. And but he's done an unbelievable job. I've become friendly with him. I didn't really know him, and over the last year or so, I've become friendly. He's incredible. He's an incredible leader. You really are. But you have a couple of people that maybe more than one. Let me put it that way. They all love him. Your wife loves you. That I can tell you. He's got a great. Where are you? Where are you? Stand up, please. Just stand up. Come on. What a great wife and family. It's true. Thank you. She is a great, look at her. She's very popular, isn't she? Huh? She's great, more than you. You're very popular. And now I'm bringing them down. I'm bringing the taxes down from 21 to 15%, but only if they make their product in America. So if they make their product in America, we're bringing it down. So if you think about it, we took it down from 40 to 15%. But again, you keep 21, but you go down to 15 if you make your product here. We are going to have so many business moving back into our country. And remember, again, the word tariff. We're going to protect our people and our businesses, and we're going to protect our country with tariffs. And you got a little indication of that yesterday with what happened with a very strong country. Colombia is traditionally a very, very strong-willed country. If they don't make their product in America, then very simply they should have to pay a tariff, which will bring in trillions of dollars into our treasury from countries that never paid us 10 cents. We're not going to let that happen. We're not going to let them destroy our country. In the words of President McKinley, who is the tariff king, the protective system invokes the highest law of nature, that a self-preservation, and that is self-preservation. There is every reason, founded in justice, why the American producer should in every way be favored against a foreign producer whose products compete with his. This is our natural market. We have made it. We have made it an enormous cost, capital, and exertion. And think of this. And we did that through exertion and brain and muscle and guts and stamina. We preserved it against foreign wars and domestic conflicts at great sacrifice of men and women. The foreign producer has contributed nothing to the growth or development of this country. So if you want to share with the citizens of the United States our home market, then you must pay for the privilege of doing it. In other words, you have to pay for the privilege of coming into our country, taking our jobs, taking our product, destroying our countries. We mentioned North Carolina, the furniture business, what they've done to these great artisans. I used to go down to North Carolina all the time to buy furniture for hotels that I was building, and they had the most incredible artisans. That whole thing was wiped out by China mostly, but others, and just wiped out. But it's going to come back. It's going to come roaring back. It's all going to come roaring back. We're going to put tariffs on outside countries and outside people that really mean us harm. They want to, well, they mean us harm, but they basically want to make their country good. Look at what others do. China's a tremendous tariff maker, and India and Brazil and so many countries. And so we're not going to let that happen any longer, because we're going to put America first. Always put America first. That's what's going to happen. We're going to establish a very fair system where money is going to come into our coffers, and America is going to be very rich again, and it's going to happen very quickly. It's time for the United States to return to the system that made us richer and more powerful than ever before. Do you know the United States in 1870 to 1913, all tariffs, and that was the richest period in the history of the United States, relatively speaking. In other words, relatively. And they set up the Great Tariff Commission of 1887, and this commission had one function: what to do with all the money that we took in. It was so enormous that they had no idea. It was a blue ribbon committee. It was set up 1887, and what to do with all of the money that we had. And again, Teddy Roosevelt was a beneficiary because when McKinley was killed, he took over this vast sum of money, and he did all of those national parks and all of the other things. And I'm not knocking him, but he was given a vast amount of money, and that was all made through tariffs. We had no income tax. The income tax came in 1913. As I said in my speech last week, instead of taxing our citizens to enrich foreign nations, we should be tariffing and taxing foreign nations to enrich our citizens. Does that make sense, right? Under the American First economic model, as tariffs on other countries go up, taxes on American workers and businesses will come down, and massive numbers of jobs and factories will come home. The job creation will be enormous. In particular, if you look at the automobile sector, I mean, we're just being wiped out. You just take a look at what's happened to that over the years. And the auto workers voted for me. I have an obligation to do what's right, and I'm going to do that. Do you know in Mexico they were going to build the largest auto plant anywhere in the world? And it was during the campaign, my most recent campaign. And a very great gentleman, all he does is he builds auto plants. He was building this factory. And I said, how's it going? I said, I want to go around and take a look at one of your factories that you're building. One of the big ones, one of the good ones. I said, okay, are you ready? When are you going to do this? Is 8 months ago, 9 months ago. He said, you'll have to go to Mexico. I said, what about the United States? He said, we're putting up a couple, but they're small. He's the biggest guy at doing this. He said, in Mexico, they're building massive automobile factories. I said, you mean they're doing it? And who's the owner of the factories? He said, mostly China. One in particular is massive, and it's built fairly close to the border. So they were going to build cars and send them into the United States for no tax or very little tax and destroy Detroit, just destroy the rest of it, what's left of it. Because they've already taken, Mexico's taken 32% of our business over years, over 30 years. And the other one is Canada. Canada's taken massive amounts of, they send us millions of cars. We don't need them for that. We want to have the cars made in Detroit or South Carolina or many other locations, whether it's union or not union. But I said to him, so when is this plant going to open? He said, well, we're going to start it in a couple of months, and it'll be open in about a year and a half. It's the largest plant in the world. I said, I'm not happy with that. And I said in my next speech that I am going to charge them if it takes 100% or 200%. No car is coming in from Mexico into the United States without a massive tariff. And I said it 3 or 4 times. And what happened is about 2 months later, I see that same gentleman who was in the audience, and I said, I want to see him backstage after I'm finished with the speech. And I met him backstage. I said, John, let me ask you, what happened with that plant? Where is it now? He said, sir, China's canceled it. Why? Because they think you're going to be elected, and they thought you were going to charge big tariffs on the cars coming in, and it doesn't work if you're going to charge. So they canceled the plant, and Detroit now will breathe, and we're going to do just the opposite. We're going to have these companies come in, and they can build that plant if they want, but they have to build it across the line. They have to build it in the United States. Amazing. Amazing. We did so many things, and we weren't even elected yet. That would have been a disaster. If that plant were built, it would have been a disaster. That would have wiped out. That was bigger than most of the factories put together, the auto plants put together. In particular, in the very near future, we're going to be placing tariffs on foreign production of computer chips, semiconductors, and pharmaceuticals to return production of these essential goods to the United States of America. They left us and they went to Taiwan, which is about 98% of the chip business, by the way. And we want them to come back, and we don't want to give them billions of dollars like this ridiculous program that Biden has. Give everybody billions of dollars. They already have billions of dollars. They've got nothing but money, Joe. They didn't need money. They needed an incentive, and the incentive is going to be they're not going to want to pay a 25, 50, or even 100% tax. They're going to build their factory with their own money. We don't have to give them money. They're going to come in because it's good for them to come in. They're giving them money. They don't even know what they're going to do with it. I had people tell me, we have no idea. We didn't need money. They don't know if they're probably going to use the money to build in other places, other countries. It's a ridiculous plan, very expensive and ridiculous. The only way you'll get out of this is to build your plant. If you want to stop paying the taxes or the tariffs, you have to build your plant right here in America. That's what's going to happen at record levels. We're going to have more plants built in the next short period of time than anybody ever envisioned before, because the incentive is going to be there, because they have no tariff whatsoever. In fact, they have help from us if they build their plant in America. And we're going to look at pharmaceuticals, drugs. We're going to look at chips, semiconductors, and we're going to look at steel and some other industries. And you're going to see things happening. If I didn't put on the massive steel tariffs, you wouldn't have one steel plant right now in the United States. If I didn't put on the tariffs on washing machines, dryers, and the like, you wouldn't in Ohio, you would have lost all of those companies that made washing machines and dryers. Jim Jordan is the one that got me started. Was Jim here by any chance? Is Jim here? Where is Jim? Where's Jim? Oh, look at him. Wow. That's not a great seat for a man of such power. Do you know that Jim has he's a great wrestler. He was All-American wrestler 3 times, 128 and 1. That's not a bad record, and that's the way he fights too. But he has a better record. Undefeated as a wrestler in high school. And I say, how can you do that? Because a freshman can't beat a senior. But he figured out how to beat seniors. So I stand up again, Jim. Let's give you a hand as a wrestler. As a wrestler, big hand. As a politician, very good. But Jim, is it true that we went up there, remember we had 25,000 people standing in the streets in this little beautiful town with Whirlpool, right? And they were going to close up their factories because South Korea was dumping washing machines and other things like that, and they were dumping. And we put a 50% tariff, and it's 75, even 100%, and now they're thriving, right? Without Trump, they would have been closed up. But Jim was the one that got me involved. Are you guys all happy with Jim? Do you like him? Because I like him. I like him, right? We like Jim. What's not to like? He gets on television, he's like a wrestler. He's got this boom, 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 boom. Very impressive, Jim. Anyway, it's good to see you. I like that guy a lot. I like a lot of the people in the audience a lot. I like the people in this room. We have the same basic philosophy. We have the same thoughts. What's not to like? But I'll also be placing tariffs on steel, aluminum, and copper, and things that we need for our military. We have to bring production back to our country. You know, there was a time when we made 1 ship a day, and now we can't build a ship. We don't know what the hell we're doing. It's all gone to other locations and other lands. And to further return production to the United States, we're going to environmentally free up our rare earth minerals. We have some unbelievable sites. We have some of the best rare earth anywhere in the world, but we're not allowed to use it because the environmentalists got there first. They said, you cannot touch that land. I look at the land. It looks like every other piece of land. What is it? Well, this is very protected. They have no idea what they're doing to our country. They use the environment to stop progress, so we're not going to let that happen. We have Lee Zeldin. I don't know if Lee's here today, but Lee Zeldin is going to be fantastic. He's going to head up the whole environmental. And I said, Lee, if we have we put in for a power plant, and if we don't get the approval, like that you can start within 12 days, 1 day would be even better, but 12 days, 14 days, see what you can do. And Lee's great. Lee knows what's good and he knows what's bad, and he'll be very fair, but we have to get it moving because some of these jobs, like the ones in Louisiana, they were 14, 15 years, they couldn't get their approvals. We can't let that happen. When people come here with massive amounts of money, they want to start, they want to go, and we know what's good and we know what's bad too. And Lee Zeldin's going to do a great job environmentally. As we fix our tax system, we could also cut colossal amounts of government waste, fraud, and abuse, of which there's a lot. But tonight, I restate my pledge from the campaign. I will not sign any bill that cuts even a single penny from Medicare or Social Security for our great seniors. We don't have to do that. We don't have to do that. We'll not touch those benefits in any way, shape, or form. I want to use that because during the campaign, they had these fake ads that Trump is going to cut Social Security. No, they're the ones that are going to cut it because the country's going to go bankrupt under them. And that's why it's going to cut, because they're not going to have a choice. Not that they're saying we're going to cut it, but our country was heading for absolute bankruptcy. Using reconciliation, I also look forward to working with you to make our energy policies permanent and making our historic deregulation efforts a fixture of U.S. law so that no future president, like they did with Anwar, I got Anwar approved. Nobody could do it, including Ronald Reagan in Alaska. It's the largest site, potentially the largest site in the world, larger than Saudi Arabia. And I got it done. Ronald Reagan couldn't get it. Nobody could get it done. They tried, but they couldn't get it done. I got it done. And the first thing they did was end ANWR in Alaska. The biggest, most powerful site maybe anywhere in the world, that we got it done, and we're going to get it done again very quickly. Now, I think I do it with an executive order because they didn't go through Congress. I got it approved through Congress. So I think we get it done fast. But it's going to be, that can supply all of Asia with its location. All of Asia can be supplied by ANWR. So there's so many things, but we don't want to have any future president ever sabotage our economy with out-of-control regulations, as the last 2 Democrat presidents have done. They went crazy. Last week I signed an order revoking Joe Biden's destructive artificial intelligence regulations so that AI companies can once again focus on being the best, not just being the most woke. And today and over the last couple of days, I've been reading about China, and some of the companies in China, one in particular, coming up with a faster method of AI and much less expensive method. And that's good, because you don't have to spend this much money. I view that as a positive, as an asset. So I really think if it's fact and if it's true, and nobody really knows if it is, but I view that as a positive, because you'll be doing that too. So you won't be spending as much and you'll get the same result, hopefully. The release of DeepSeek AI from a Chinese company should be a wake-up call for our industries, that we need to be laser-focused on competing to win, because we have the greatest scientists in the world. Even Chinese leadership told me that. They said, you have the most brilliant scientists in the world in Seattle and various places. But Silicon Valley, they said, there's nobody like those people. This is very unusual when you hear a DeepSeek, when you hear somebody come up with something. We always have the ideas. We're always first. So I would say that's a positive. That could be very much a positive development. So instead of spending billions and billions, you'll spend less and you'll come up with, hopefully, the same solution. Under the Trump administration, we're going to unleash our tech companies, and we're going to dominate the future like never before. And finally, we need to work together on a defense bill that once again fully rebuilds our military for our great warriors. We have to have a strong, strong defense. And in a little while, I'll be signing 4 new executive orders. First is that I'm directing our new Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, who's going to be great, by the way. Thank you for the support. Thank you very much for the support. You really did support him greatly. I think he's going to be fantastic. I know him very well. I think he's going to be fantastic. He's what we need to immediately begin the construction of a state-of-the-art Iron Dome missile defense shield, which will be able to protect Americans. You know, we protect other countries, but we don't protect ourselves. And when Ronald Reagan wanted to do it many years ago, luckily we didn't. We didn't have the technology then. It was a concept, but we didn't. And now we have phenomenal technology. You see that with Israel, where out of 319 rockets, they knocked down just about every one of them. So I think the United States is entitled to that, and everything will be made right here in the USA, 100%. And next, to ensure that we have the most lethal fighting force in the world, we will get transgender ideology the hell out of our military. It's going to be gone. In addition, we will stop our service members from being indoctrinated with radical left ideologies such as critical race theory. We're going to stop it. It's already been stopped. It's already been halted, totally halted. And finally, we will offer full reinstatement to any service member who was expelled from the armed forces due to the COVID vaccine mandate. And we will restore them to their former rank with full pay. And I think we're going to have a lot of people that join. And one thing I'll say, if you looked at our recruitment over the last week or so, 2 weeks, it's through the roof. You know, we were having a lot of people weren't signing. We were having a hard time recruiting people because they were looking at these people that they were supposed to be their leaders, and they weren't happy. They didn't like people that fall going upstairs. If you're going to fall, at least go downstairs from the plane. That triple fall, I used that thing in more ads. I didn't have an ad where I didn't put that in. Just a little quick 1, 2, 3. Reminded me of Joe Frazier when he went down, right? George Foreman, Joe Frazier. 3 falls in a matter of seconds. I said, can you speed it up a little bit? People are getting tired of it. But no, we have now the best recruitment we've seen in a long time. There's a tremendous number of people wanting to sign up. January 20th, 2025 was a turning point in American history. Starting last week, we're ending years of incompetence, radicalism, and betrayal, and we're ushering in the most exhilarating era of reform and renewal in the 250-year history of our country. And just in conclusion, I just want to say that this has been a very exciting and will be a very exciting new chapter. There's nothing we cannot achieve as long as the Republican Party remains united. I hope you can remain united. And it's one thing I give the Democrats a lot of credit for because, you know, they have lousy policy. I think, frankly, half of them are totally crazy. But they do stick together. They stick together on stuff that nobody can. I mean, how can you want prisons emptied out into our country? They stick together. They stick together on everything. Impeachment hoax number one, impeachment hoax number two. They stick together. Although I must tell you, you gave me great support during those two problems. Those two fake witch hunts, which have now turned out to be totally fake and disgusting. But you gave me tremendous support. But the Republican Party has to stick together. We just can't have people going, you know, 1, 2, 3 votes. And we don't have that luxury. It would be different if we had a 20-point, 30-person majority, but we don't. We have to help leadership. And, you know, you can be assured that you have certain philosophies, that if you're going to have most of the people, almost all of them, voting for something, you're going to be okay. It's not going to be bad. You have to stick together. It's the one thing that I would say we don't get very high marks. Everything is so hard. We always have 2 or 3 or 5 or something, people that just don't want to do it. And you just got to do it. You just got to do it. Make life easy. Just got to do it. So right now we have a very special period because we have the House, we have the Senate, and we have the White House. And we're a team, and we're a really good team. And I appreciate so many times, and like even with Mike, I called 3 or 4 people, and they said, okay, sir, I'll do it. I'm going to vote. I'm going to vote positively. And they're very happy they did now. But when I called, we've gotten such a great response. We just had that happen with Pete Hegseth, and we have it happening with others. But we really appreciate it with the House. The House has been, you know, it's a very difficult situation when you have that small a majority. But in a certain way, it brings you together. It actually can unify more than anybody would ever know. And a victory is sweeter, as they say, because of it. And I think we're going to have a lot of victories, but we have to stick together. We have to work together. We have to fight together. And we're going to win together. We're going to win like never before. We have a chance to win like never before. As long as we stay united, the 119th Congress will be remembered as the most successful and accomplished Republican majority in American history. I believe that. I think we have a chance of doing that. Right? And in January 2027, we will have a larger Republican House, a larger Republican Senate, and our country will be richer, safer, stronger, prouder, greater, freer, and ever before. I really think that we're going to have some big victories coming up, and I'm going to be helping every single one of you. I'm raising a lot of money, and I want to use it for the House, and I want to use it for the Senate. I've raised a lot of money, and you know, I told my people, we raised $1.7 billion. They raised $2.6 billion. They have the unions with, you know, checkoffs, which is always tough, $10 a month times millions and millions of people. And then we won, and we won by a lot. And they wanted to go out, and they still haven't raised it. They're trying to raise $28 million. They cannot raise 10 cents. It's good to win, I will tell you. It's really good to win, but they can't raise money. But I told my people the morning after. Now, normally, because we have so many donors here and so many people that I love and respect, a lot of great friends of mine, but I told my people, Meredith and Susie, by the way, how good is Susie, the Ice Maiden? Where is the Ice Maiden? She is so great. She is so good. Stand up, Susie. The Ice Maiden, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, look at that. Most powerful woman in the world, they say. Most powerful woman in the world. She's made of ice. She's great. No, you know, when I came to Florida, Florida was a Democrat state, had a Democrat governor. They had one Democrat senator. It was largely a Democrat state. And through various reasons, I ended up with Susie running the campaign, and she was unbelievable. We won it in a landslide. And then the second time, we won it in an even bigger landslide. And when it came time to choosing somebody to run the campaign, the whole campaign, I said, what about Susie from Florida? She'd never lost. I won every primary. I won every, I didn't lose anything. And again, it was a Democrat state, and it was a landslide both times. And all of the Republican stuff was almost like it didn't even exist. It was amazing. And I said, what about Susie? Well, sir, you know, a woman has never been in this position before. I said, really? Oh, by the way, we have Kellyanne Conway. She didn't do too badly either, right? She did a great job, 2016. And when it came time to chief of staff, do you know that there has never been a woman chief of staff? But there is now. There is now, right? I didn't know that. I'm so surprised. I'm very surprised. But it came time to running the campaign, and I said, well, I've never had a loss with Susie. She comes from great stock, you know. Pat Summerall is her father. Pat Summerall was a football player, great football player, but a really great announcer, really the voice of the NFL for 27 years or something. He was great, and a leader. He worked with John Madden, and he was able to get John Madden to do things that nobody else could do. They'd call him, they'd say, Pat, John is really difficult. Now, you know, John was a difficult guy, but he got big ratings, and he was good. And Pat would go up, come on, John, let's get this done. Come on. I know you don't like the heads of the company. Just they're paying you a lot of money. Come on, John, let's get it done. And he'd go and do it. And this went on for, what, 27 years, right? But he was a leader, her father. And, you know, this is somebody that has the gene. I'll tell you, she's great, and she's done a fantastic job. So she was so good with the campaign. I said, let's let her do the campaign. And it was flawless. And again, I said before, we had her win a lot of votes because it's crooked as hell. And I hope you can go to voter ID and same-day voting and paper ballots and all of those things, because ultimately we'll never lose a race if you do that. I'm telling you, you'll never lose a race. And I hope you can get that. And that's said to the governors mostly, but this, you know, you people have a lot of power over it. But Susie ran the race, and we did phenomenally, and then we just made her the chief of staff, and she's doing great. They say it was the greatest week, opening week, in presidential history, and I think, you know, it couldn't be a hell of a lot better. Even CNN is saying, this guy is amazing. I couldn't believe it. I said, did CNN really say that? Because nobody watches, so nobody was able to confirm it. But it was pretty amazing. Oh, the camera just went off. It's always tough. Usually you get them by surprise. But I just want to thank everybody. We're going to make this tremendously successful. We're going to have, I believe, we're going to have one of the greatest 4 years in the history of our country. We're going to turn it around quickly, and then we're going to go on and we're going to progress like nobody ever thought possible. And I want to thank these great 4 people, because they really are leaders, and they're phenomenal people. And I want to thank all of my friends in the audience, many of whom are congressmen and congresswomen and people that have just tremendous talent. Every single one of you, I know every one of you, and you have tremendous talent. And if we stick and if we fight together, there's nobody can stop us. We're going to have, because they have bad policy. Their policy is so bad. Nobody could win with this policy. Nobody. And we have the best policy. And again, as they say, and we say, and I've been saying for a long time, we're the party of common sense. And we're the party that's going to have the best 4 years ever. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Well, good morning, everybody. I am so happy to be here today and so thrilled to be able to swear in our new Secretary of Defense and we are honored to have him. Now, before we do that, I have to say a few words of appreciation. First, of course, to the President of the United States for nominating a person who is respected and adored by the warfighters. This is the Secretary of Defense who will stand up for the men and women that we send overseas to fight our nation's wars. I think a lot of them feel that they haven't had somebody who's had their back. That will change because the President of the United States nominated this guy, and we are grateful to President Trump for doing so. I also want to say thank you to my Senate colleagues. It turns out we couldn't spare one, and all of you did an incredible job. In particular, my dear friend Roger Wicker, thank you for shepherding Pete through the committee. Roger did a great job. And in addition, all of the members of the Senate Armed Services Committee, who I know gave Pete the vetting and the hearing that he deserved, and I'm glad that we all ultimately decided that the President's nominee for Secretary of Defense ought to be our actual Secretary of Defense, and we're here today. I'm going to say one final thing. If you look at what has separated President Trump from so many of the people who came before him, it is the view that, number one, we should be sparing in how we deploy our most precious resource, which is the men and women who are willing to put on the uniform and put their life on the line for this country. We shouldn't send them everywhere, but two, when we do send them anywhere, we ought to empower them with the tools necessary to fight and win quickly and come home afterwards. And that is what sets this administration apart, and that's what Pete Hegseth represents. Now, finally, I, of course, have to thank the nominee himself. Pete, thank you for being willing to put yourself out there. I think you've shown yourself a man of deep character and of resolve over the last few months. Jennifer, thank you for standing by, our new Secretary of Defense, and your beautiful family, from your kids to the extended family. You guys did a hell of a job. We're proud of you, and we're glad to have you in Washington as we work to make America great again. So with that, let me administer the oath of office. Kids, come on up. All right, put your hand on the Bible, raise your right hand, and repeat after me. I, Pete Hegseth.
I, Pete Hegseth.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge.
The duties of the office on which I am about to enter.
The duties of the office of which I am about to enter.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. Secretary. Congratulations. Mr. Secretary, say a few words.
All praise and glory to God. His will be done, and we're grateful to be here. And as I said in my hearing, it was Jesus and Jenny. I would not be here without you, sweetheart. Thank you so much. I want to thank the President of the United States, our Commander-in-Chief, Donald Trump. We could not have a better Commander-in-Chief than him. It is the honor of a lifetime, sir, to serve under you. We look forward to having the backs of our troops and having your back in executing peace through strength, in putting America first, and in rebuilding our military. Mr. Vice President, thank you for breaking the tie. It's not the last time, or not the first time the headline reads, Junior Enlisted Marine bails out Junior Army Officer. And, you know, some people were saying, well, 50-50, that's too tight. And Senator Mark Wayne Mullen was nice enough to take my kids up to the gallery to watch the actual moment that the vice president sealed the deal. And they came running in. They said, Dad, instead of being sad about 50-50, 51-50, they said, Dad, you won in overtime. That's the perspective I like. So thank you throughout this process, Mr. Vice President, for being incredible. I also want to thank the chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee. So many members of the Senate Armed Services Committee, we became fast friends in this process. The advice, the consent, the wisdom, the guidance. I look forward to working with all of you and other senators to ensure the Defense Department has what it needs, that our nation has what it needs, and that we're prepared to defend it in all moments. To my staff, amazing staff who were with us this entire process, I see so many of you through thick and thin. We used to look at the betting odds every once in a while on this. It was low at one point. Never do that. But we defied them. And there were so many folks on the inside and then allies on the outside who stood by us every single moment. And we are eternally grateful for that. And I want to thank the warfighters. I want to thank the men and women wearing the uniform. And I've said this before when I speak, and I mean it. Every time I stand at a podium and there's bright lights and cameras, the first thing that goes through my head are the guys that I served with on the battlefield. The men and the women who I lock shields with and put my life on the line with, who never get the spotlight, who never have the cameras, who people don't know what they did in dark and dangerous places. But I know. And at the Pentagon, we're going to remember and we're going to know. And we're going to think about those warriors with every single decision that we make. We will put America first. We will bring peace through strength. And the three principles I talked about are what we will bring to that Pentagon. Restore the warrior ethos in everything that we do. Rebuild our military. And reestablish deterrence. We don't want to fight wars. We want to deter them, as you said. And we want to end them responsibly. But if we need to fight them, we're going to bring overwhelming and decisive force to close with and destroy the enemy and bring our boys home. And to my other family that's here as well, who I love, it's the honor of a lifetime. And I would be remiss if I didn't note one person in this room who doesn't expect to be recognized, but Captain Rougeau is here. He was my company commander on my first deployment in Guantanamo Bay. He was there on June 3rd, 2003, when I first swore in as a second lieutenant at Princeton University, and he swore me in. And I wanted to make sure he was here today with me as well. Thank you very much. So, Mr. President, thank you very much. To the American people, we have your back. We're going to get to work right away. God bless. Thank you.
All right, I guess that's it. Any questions?
I said, why should women in the armed service trust you?
Guys, let me answer that for the new secretary. All people in our armed services should trust him because he looks out for them and he's going to fight for them. And he's going to make sure that we have the kind of military that we can all be proud in, that we can all be proud of, and that, again, when we send it to do a job, we do it well, we do it quickly, and then we get the hell out. And that's what Secretary Hegseth is going to bring to the Department of Defense. Anything else?
Are you worried about any of the nominees coming really close to the line as we saw with Hegseth?
You know, as I learned with